thing I did, come on up. Yeah, what are you doing? You're covering my notes. The last thing I did was to take and add the elevator halves to the stabilizer and the rudder to the fin. What's the matter? You're not getting enough tension today? Trouble. And that was just simply taking the CA hinges and slotting them and putting them into the backs and go ahead and mounting them with a single drop of CA glue on. Come on, now you're being annoying. Come on. This is so ridiculous. What is the matter with you? Oh my God. Would you stop it? Kitty, stop. Hey, welcome back to the shop. It's really good to see you here again. Whew, it's cold in the shop today. Got down to 20 degrees last night. I think it's probably in the mid 40s out here. So you definitely need the heater going. Hi, my name is Dan. This is my shop, and this is where I build, maintain, and sometimes repair my model airplanes. And as you can see, the table has been reset again. Here we've got the Flying King on it, and we're going to start building on it next. But anyways, just kind of wanted to catch you up to date on what's going on in the shop. We got through the holidays, we had company, we had dinners, we had decorating and undecorating and all that kind of stuff. And now everything is finally getting back to normal and I'm able to start building again. So let's go ahead and talk about what's coming up. So I've been working on the Rebel and getting the pieces that Mark gave me put together. And so if there's one thing that I think ARF's kind of taught us is that by covering the parts separately rather than building the entire plane and putting it together and then covering it, you know, when you buy an ARF, you get all of the parts of the airplane are in a box and you have to assemble them. And like I was saying, something that it taught me is that, you know, if you could take and cover the stabilizer as a single piece instead of it being on the fuselage already mounted and you have to custom cut 4 different pieces of covering for each of the intersections of the stabilizer as it comes away from the fuselage. It saves a lot of time. And so that's one of the things that we kind of learned from this. So what I've been doing is taking all the parts that Mark covered and simply removing the covering in just the spots you need for the wood-to-wood contact to the airframe. So for instance, on the stabilizer, there is the saddle, which is exposed wood. And then what you need to do is take the stabilizer and cut away just enough of it so that you can put that onto the saddle with a wood-to-wood contact. You're just removing enough covering to just for the size of the saddle, and that's it. And there's several different places where this comes in handy on the plane, whether it be the fin or the fillets that are around the sides of it. I keep looking over there so I can see exactly what, if I could see it, I can identify the part. That's a fillet. You can't see it, but it's over there. Now there's something that is very critical that's when you're putting the stabilizer onto the fuselage, and that is that it needs to run parallel to the wing. And the way you do this is you put the wing on it, on the fuselage, and you get it all set down on the bench, and then you look down the exact center line of the fuselage, and you can see where when you put the stabilizer on there, you'll be able to look back and see the edges of the tips of the stabilizer and where they line up on that wing. You want them to be the same distance on either end of the stabilizer, otherwise it's going to give you some trim issues. You're going to really have to fight to get that plane to fly straight, and this is one step that you can take that is fairly easy to do that really helps insure against that kind of a problem. So what happens is if you're looking down it and you see that one of the ends of the stabilizer is higher than the other, then there's some things you could do. You could sand down on the saddle of the stabilizer on the fuselage so that it will actually allow it to drop a little bit on one end. Or you can do what I did. In this case, I had it was like maybe 2 millimeters too high on one side, just barely. You could just barely see it, but I saw it. And so what I did was I used the 5-minute epoxy and was able to, once I got the epoxy onto the saddle and then put the stabilizer onto it, I was able to adjust out that 2 millimeters because it was a float issue. You know, it was enough though that you could push down on one side of the stabilizer and the glue was filling up the joint, and on the other side to create the wedge or the shim, and it worked perfectly. So that's a critical step you could do. Now, that being said, if you don't get it right, if it isn't perfect, it's still going to fly. The plane is still going to fly. But like I said, you might have to add some kind of a trim in order to make the plane fly straight. And if we don't need to add trim, if we build the plane straight as we can to begin with, then you don't have to do these little fine adjustments after later on, because you know it's just it's a kind of a craftsmanship kind of a thing. But you want to get it as perfect as you can, and it doesn't always come out that way. But you know what? Give it your best shot. The next step I did was to mount the fin onto the stabilizer, and once again there is one kind of issue that you want to make sure with this. First of all, you got to make sure that you've got the fin aligned to the body properly left-right. So you want it to be perfectly down the center line, and so make your measurements to make sure that the tip of the fin is in the right center part of where it is on the fuselage. And then you need to also put the also measure to the back of it where it's coming to the back of the body to make sure it's exactly in the center. So here we are at the tail end of things. It's a joke. Okay, anyways, what I wanted to work on here was I've got all the wood stripped away, just like I did on the bottom with that piece of the stabilizer, what I had to remove and stuff like that. So we had to do that on the top deck of the stabilizer on this one, and then up into here. And what we've got is two surfaces. This is balsa wood here, and balsa wood here. So this is great news because now we'll be able to use my favorite balsa to balsa mending glue for this for an instant tack. So what I'm going to do is first thing, reset this to where it was when I made the cuts. I did the same thing. I tracked the pin down the sides and then cut about a 16th of an inch inside those so that I have room for the surface to be exposed, but yet not cut away the covering to the outside so that it doesn't look right. You don't want to have a big old balsa gap sticking out of there. That would just look kind of dumb. Alright, so let me see if I can get this set here. I think that looks about right where it is. Yeah, okay, so everything's in position correctly. So we just kind of could take a little bit here to make sure that we got it set correctly. And you can see when that piece of the fillet goes down, it's going to cover out to the edge of the balsa. So we'll put glue inside on the balsa to fit it right. It's going to look good. But like I was saying, the most important part now, previously it was more important to get the stabilizer mounted perfectly horizontal to match the wing. And now the thing we want to do is we want to make sure that if we're sticking this one down, we're going to have a 90-degree angle here to make sure it is perfectly perpendicular to the stabilizer. So that'll be the next step we do. But I'll be using the thin, and I just want to make sure I've got it 90 degrees. So I'm going to just tack it in a few spots, and then we'll go after it as far as making sure we really make it solid. Okay, that is going underneath there. And we'll get it here too. Okay, make sure we're 90 degrees. And let that thin CA, should have. It's probably already fired by now, but I'm just holding it a couple more seconds just to be sure. Okay. So I've got the Rebel over on the assembly table, and I've got the Flying King on the building table. And those are the two planes I'm working on at the time. The Decathlon actually flew this last weekend, and I'll be putting a little short video of that because I didn't get a very long video of it because of circumstances that happened out at the field. No, I didn't wreck it, but I did, we did run into something where I had to hurry up and land where I didn't want to, but did anyways. And then once the plane was down, it's now in the phase where I want to go through it and make sure that all the bolts are still tightened and everything. I did find that one of the elevator horns was actually a little too loose, and I got to fix that. So there's little things to do, but I will be posting a video in the community page, just a short video of that day. It was fun. Mark and I had a pretty good time out there, and it worked out all right. So anyhow, before we go, I wanted to introduce another friend of mine to you. His name is Jeff, and he lives down in the Bay Area. And he is a volunteer at the Oakland Aviation Museum. And right now, he was telling me about this project, and I got him to send me some pictures of it and stuff like that. He's working on something really cool. He's working on a prototype that was made for Boeing that is a dirigible, a dirigible meaning a blimp, that actually has an airplane wing on it. And it was something that they were experimenting with back in the early 2000s. It's dirigible for transportation has gotten to be a thing, and there's a lot of companies that have made them, and they're using them to help for transporting of big loads and stuff like that. It's just like a big slow flying ship that they can move stuff around to. And so Boeing was thinking about getting into it, I guess. So they had this model builder build a prototype for them. And so this is the prototype that he built for them. And, I guess in the end, Boeing didn't decide to go that way with their project, but this was donated to the Oakland Air Museum. And so Jeff is in the process of putting this thing back together. It actually flew. It's not going to fly at the museum. It's obviously, what they're going to do is they're going to rebuild it, and they're going to make it a static display. But this one had a Cobalt 40 electric motor in the back of it. And so he's kind of just showing it to me. And I thought it just kind of goes to show that modeling can be, if you could use this a long way up the line. Modeling skills are great. So here he is working as a volunteer at a museum, putting together an actual piece of history. And that's really neat. And so anyways, these are the pictures he sent me. I'll run you through those, and you can take a look at all those. And I hope that he sends me a finished one. I really want to take a look and see what that thing looks like, because you can see on the one placard, there's kind of like a little silhouette of what it's supposed to look like, but it's hard to imagine it until it gets all put together exactly what it's going to be. So anyways, thought I'd share that with you. Jeff, get building, buddy. Did you have anything that you wanted to add, Trixie? Huh? I think we're about done here for today, but I just wanted to make sure that I caught you up to date. And yeah, go ahead, take the table. It's yours, babe. And we're going to be continuing to work on the Flying King here. I've got to get this thing together. I've heard that the date for the maiden voyage is going to be in April. So it looks like I got about a month and a half to get this going. I better get to work. But the good news is it shouldn't be difficult. It's a pretty easy kit to put together. I just need to get the time to do it. So anyways, I'll see you next time. Until then, pick up a project, get building. See you later. Come on.